We're back out here once again, and today we're talking about that mythical magic bait. The bait that just seems to catch fish, no matter what time of year, no matter what the conditions are. Does such a bait even exist? And if it does, what does it look like? Well, stick around, we're going to talk all about it. Oh no, I didn't. Oh, that's a big fish. That's a big fish. We on them now, honey. Where are you going? And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and we as anglers are always on the lookout for that magic bait, aren't we? That bait or lure or presentation, you just tie it on, start making casts, and start catching fish. Doesn't matter what the conditions are, doesn't even matter if there are bass in that water. You throw it out there and you start catching bass, right? You start catching fish. Now, sadly, that bait does not exist yet, but given technology, never say never. You know, we've got spot lock, we've got forward-facing sonar, we've got 360 imaging, and considering what we have on the horizon, technologically speaking, somebody, some point, is going to invent a magic bait that just catches fish no matter where you are on your fishery, or what the conditions are, or the mood of those bass. It's going to happen. But right now, that does not exist. But is there an analog? Is there a reasonable facsimile that we can use now that can be a magic bait? And the answer is yes. But what would that entail? What would that bait look like? Well, it's got to be versatile. It's got to be probably the most versatile bait in your arsenal. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. It doesn't matter the water conditions. You can still use this bait to catch fish. It's always going to be on your best baits list. So what is it? Well, a lot of you guys are going to roll your eyes because it's so silly. It's so ridiculously simple. And that is a 1/4 ounce flipping or casting jig. It's that simple. Now, before you click away, we're going to do a deep dive as to why this little guy right here is probably the closest thing to a magic bait that you are ever going to get to. Now, for those of you who don't like fishing a jig, we're going to cover that. But whether you're a bank angler, whether you're a boat angler, it does not matter. A small 1/4 ounce jig, like this guy right here. And this is one of the Diamondback Baits jigs that I make. And thanks to everyone who has stopped by the shop over at diamondbackbaits.myshopify.com to buy these. These things have been selling like hotcakes, these little 1/4 ounce jigs, especially this time of year. And the reason is because they are so versatile. So go over by the store, check these things out. I know you're going to love them. They work in so many different conditions, under so many different ways, so many different presentations. And we're going to talk all about it. Now, first, obviously, this is your normal jig setup. I've got a small crawl on here in case a Googan crack and crawl, right? I've been talking a lot about these, but other types of trailers will work equally well. You know, little zoom chunks. And another one that I like to do, especially in darker stained water, or if we've got a good bit of wind and some cloudy skies, in other words, limited visibility, I like to use a swimming chunk. In this case, a black swimming chunk, like I have on this little 1/4 ounce black flipping jig, also from Diamondback Baits. This is in that midnight color. This is one of the biggest selling ones. I have to restock these pretty soon, but they'll be back in the next day or so. But this one right here, this catches fish. It just catches fish. I like that little kick on the tail, especially in that murkier water, especially in that darker water. This works so good. That's the first way we can do it. That's the first way we can fish those jigs. Just have a small pared-down presentation. It works in the summer, it works in the fall, it works in the spring, it works all year long, whatever month of the year it is. It doesn't matter if it's October, November, December, doesn't matter if it's spring, doesn't matter if it's March. A small little flipping jig or a little casting jig, a little 1/4 ounce jig like this, paired down with a small trailer, is going to catch fish. It'll catch fish under timber, under docks, in grass. It will catch fish. But I said it had to be versatile, and that's true. It's going to be very versatile because there are so many ways we can rig up that small jig. And if you've got a good imagination, or if you just want to play around with it, you can come up with your own ways to rig up that jig. Now, we know that a small pared down presentation like a 1/4 ounce jig with a small crawl or a small chunk trailer is absolute money during the year. All year long, you can fish it deep, you can fish it shallow. It's a great way to catch fish. But we can also change that trailer out to something like half of a stick bait or a Ned bait. And it works even better during the fall and the winter, when those bass are slowing down, when they tend to get a little bit more lethargic and a little bit more finicky. A trailer like this, that's just got a little bit of a wiggle, a little bit of a shimmy to it, can be super effective. It's something we talked about in some recent videos, and I've shown it on this channel before. Just by changing that trailer out just a little bit, we have almost an entirely different presentation. And it doesn't stop there, right? While this catches fish all year long, it works great during those cold months especially, we can go even further and we can take the skirt off of that and make it almost like a heavier duty Ned rig. So you start to see the versatility we have just with a small 1/4 ounce flipping or casting jig. It's a great way to fish, especially if you're fishing from the bank and you have very little space to work with. You can maybe only have 1 or 2 rods. You've only got a tackle box or a backpack or something even less than that. Maybe what you can carry in your pockets. So you've got a small jig, you've got a couple of soft plastics, you're good to go for nearly any situation. But we're not done yet. There's even more ways we can rig up that small jig to work in different presentations. Let's say those bass are in a more active mood, or maybe they're chasing bait. Maybe they want something that moves, right? Take that skirt off, put a swim bait on it. You don't even have to take the skirt off. You can use it like a swim jig. And that can be very effective, especially in grass or areas where those bass are chasing something like bluegill, something that's got that thicker profile. But if they're chasing something like minnows or shad or shiner, you can take the skirt off like I do, like I've done for a long time. You know, you guys have always called this the lowbrow rig, but it's just essentially a swim bait, right? It's just a swim bait rigged on a small jig. And it works so well. I've caught so many fish doing that. It's money from the bank and from the boat, especially as that water starts to get colder. The more cold that water seems to get, the more effective these seem to become. So you can see, we've got so many different ways of working that small jig. That same jig we can change radically from a dragging bait to a hopping bait to almost like a shaky head to a moving bait, but we're not done yet. There's actually even more ways we can rig up that bait. Let's say it's a windy day like we have today. You've got some chop, you've got some current on the water, and something like dragging or bouncing baits don't really work so well. So what can you do? Well, we've got the beetle swing. Clip a beetle spin blade on that small jig. I've got a rage swimmer on here, just a regular 3.5 inch or 3.75 inch rage swimmer on here. And there you go. You guys know that I love these things. This is not anything that I've not shown in videos before. These are things that I do all the time. And I'm just putting them together in this one video to illustrate how versatile these small little 1/4 ounce jigs are. You want to talk about a magic bait? This has got to be about as close as it gets. You can use them for everything pretty much any time of year. If you've got a small jig and you've got different plastics, you have versatility. You can pretty much mimic any type of presentation that you need to. And just because it's a 1/4 ounce doesn't mean you can't fish a little bit deeper water. I fish shallow hydrilla flats with this because it comes through the grass so well. But you can also fish deep timber, deep brush piles, deep rock piles with this same presentation. It catches fish when that water's got some chop on it, whenever you've got some wind-driven current, maybe a little bit of cloud cover in the sky to go with it. And you never know just exactly what you can catch doing that. Versatility is unmatched. And that's basically what we're looking for. Whenever we need a magic bait, whenever we need a bait that's going to catch fish in any condition, well, it's got to be versatile, right? It's got to be a versatile bait. That goes without saying. And we can say a stick bait is versatile. We can say a Texas rig is versatile, but nothing is going to top that small 1/4 ounce casting jig, flipping jig, something like that. It's going to work so well for you. If you're fishing from the bank, if you're fishing from the boat, it doesn't matter. You can get inventive. You can make up your own ways to fish that. You could use them for hover strolling or tight lining if you really wanted to. It would work. You can use them as a shaky head. You can use them as a heavier duty Ned rig. You can use them for swim baits. You can use them for however you want to. Whatever type of fishing you want to do, that little 1/4 ounce jig is going to do it, and it's going to do it phenomenally. So the next time you're thinking about what's the biggest bang for the buck, what bait will cover all the bases for me, think about that little 1/4 ounce jig, and I'm telling you what, it will fill a niche that you need to fill. So there you have it, the little 1/4 ounce jig. Almost as perfect a bait as you can find. It fills so many roles, and it does it so well. Try it for yourself. See how many different variations you can come up with just using one of these. You might even surprise yourself. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.